Hello, Demons, Fae, and those in between. This is Dizzy, and I will be continuing A Thing with Wings by PaperPuffin. We are on chapters 24 and 25, which, if you've been following along, means that there are only 3 chapters left after this. I think I'm gonna do a long video for you guys of all 3 of the chapters at the end, but tell me if you'd be interested in that. Anyway, let's get started. Bruce stared at Tim, who was floating in a liquid that looked disturbingly like Lazarus water. Anxiety crawled up his spine like stinging wasps. It made Bruce want to act, to fight, to rage, to save. He clenched his fists so tight that his nails bit into his palms. He breathed in. He breathed out and relaxed his hands. "Like you," Bruce repeated. "Yes," Danny answered. A half ghost. There are 4 of us now." Tim looked dead. His chest did not rise and fall. His now white eyelashes didn't flutter. Bruce worked his hands again. The wasps stung. The cord of aloes. The cord of owls had killed his child. They had snatched Tim from where he should be safe and taken him into the dark depths. They had tied up like a lamb at slaughter, and they had killed him. "He's dead." "Yes," Danny answered, voice wavering. "Bruce, I am so sorry." "And he's alive." Yes." Bruce lunged at Danny and pulled him close. He buried his face into Danny's floating white hair. His hands clutched at the fabric between Danny's wings. Danny's chest did not rise and fall. His heart did not beat. But Bruce knew that Danny still lived. He had felt Danny's breath and pulse and love. Whatever else Danny was, he was still alive. Tim was still alive. "Thank you," Bruce whispered. "Thank you for saving my son." Danny clung back to Bruce just as tightly. "I didn't, not all the way." "He's as alive as you," Bruce insisted. "That's more than I hoped for when he's alive. That's all that matters right now." "Maybe some medical care for phantom matters." "Frostbite," Danny sighed. "Your little bird is safe. His other family is here. There is still some time before we will wake him. Let yourself be looked after so that we may minimize any long-term harm." The Yeti huffed. "He's right," Bruce said. "You saved Tim. Let yourself be looked after also. We're not going anywhere." "If nothing else, do it for Tim," Dick piped in. "He would hate for you to be hurt because of him." "That's not playing fair," Danny said as he pulled back from Bruce. "No," Cass said with a serene smile. Danny sighed dramatically. All right. Frostbite, I'm all yours, but just for a little bit," Frostbite said as he dabbed at Danny's brow with an ectoplasm-soaked bit of, well, likely Yeti fur. "You always pick such interesting humans to be a part of your fraid." "I didn't realize that any of them had become that. Not until this event," Danny said. "It might just be Tim, after he spent those days in my apartment." Frostbite gave a little snort. "That I doubt. You have a connection with them. It is oddly clear to see for the living, perhaps due to your growing status as an ancient." A chill ran through Danny. I'm not changing them, right? I mean, obviously I did Tim to save him, but me being around isn't changing the others, is it?" Pausing, Frostbite tilted his head in thought. "I cannot say without running tests, but that should not be the case. While you are unique as a halfa, humans are hard to change toward death without drastic measures, such as with Hummingbird." "You can't say that like it's his ghost name," Danny said. Frostbite simply shrugged and returned to caring for Danny's wounds. Danny held back a sigh and decided to drop the matter. Instead, Danny turned thoughts to the concerning matter of the things that had been able to injure him in such a way. The wounds would have been expected as a human, but for them to still mar his ghost form... He would have to be careful when he went after them, and he would go after them. "Arm," Frostbite said. Danny obediently held up his arm. "What's the verdict, Doc?" "Well, I'm afraid that you are dead," Frostbite said somberly, though he could hardly hide the amused smile. Danny chuckled. "Luckily for me, that's normal. Are the wounds going to be a part of a new normal?" "My thoughts are that they will heal, but I want you on an ecto-shot regimen for a week, and to keep checking in," he ordered. "Easy. I'll be here with Tim anyways until he's stable enough to leave. I mean, if you're willing to look after him, I want to make sure he develops right." "Of course, Phantom. I am, after all, the expert in alphas," Frostbite said with a little smirk. "You are," Danny agreed. "And also my friend. I wouldn't trust anyone else with him." Frostbite patted Danny's arm gently. "We will see your little bird well, Phantom. Perhaps we go wake him now to check on him?" Danny did his best to smile back. I think everyone would really appreciate that. Tim woke up, which was unexpected, unless he was a Talon. He'd know if he was a Talon, wouldn't he? Wait, would he even know anything? Weren't Talons mindless? Was he a Talon? No. Danny had come for him. Danny was there. He was too late, wasn't he? Tim groggily tried to focus, to assess how injured he was. He wasn't. He couldn't. Why couldn't he feel anything? "Tim, sweetheart, it's okay, just, relax." Or breathe. Or not? Why couldn't he breathe? He was dead, wasn't he? He was dead and in some sort of afterlife. That's why he couldn't breathe. He was dead. Danny got there too late. Tim never even got to tell Bruce. No. It was best that Bruce didn't know that Tim was biologically his. Not now that Tim was dead. It would have hurt too much. It's good that Bruce never knew. "Tim, I know this is all very weird, but I can explain. Please, Tim, open your eyes." Tim opened his eyes. Even that felt weird. "Danny. Danny, are you dead too?" Tim slurred. He felt like crying. Did Danny die because of him? That's a bit of a hard question to answer, Hummingbird. "I am, but I'm also still alive," Danny said. "But you're all..." Tim tried to reach out to touch the odd white hair. He froze. His skin was bluish, the color of dead flesh. "I'm dead." Tim scrambled to grasp Danny's head. "Don't tell Bruce about the thing I told you. He can't know." "Tim, it's okay, honey. I'm right here," someone else said. "Someone like..." "Bruce?" Tim asked as he tried to blink away the tears that were blinding his vision. If Bruce was here... "I'm right here, Tim," Bruce said. It was shifting. Then he moved to where Tim could see him. "Bruce! Dad!" Tim flung himself forward and Bruce caught him. Because, of course he did. He always would. Bruce held Tim tight. His large, calloused hands ran through Tim's hair, over his shoulder, and through his wings, as if Bruce was checking that he was all right. Wait, wings? Tim was wrapped up so tightly in Dick's arms that if he had needed to breathe, he wouldn't be able to, because that was a thing, not needing to breathe. Tim tamped down on a hysterical giggle. He did not need to worry his family anymore. He'd already died. Kinda. "So I'm half ghost now," Tim said, after Danny had finished his explanation. I mean, okay. I'm half ghost. I have wings. I look different. But what does that mean? Danny cringed. The wings aren't exactly normal. that would be my fault, since I'm the one who made you into a halfa instead of letting you die.
Right.
As for the rest, Danny said before taking a deep breath he didn't need. You have this ghost form now. Once you learn how, you'll be able to change between it and your human form at will. In your human form, almost everything will be the same. At least I'm hoping so. You might end up with some chronic pain from your death. I did, but my resurrection was much more volatile. There are a lot of compounding issues to my health, like contaminated food and being injured with weapons meant specifically for ghosts. That had all of the bats sitting up straighter. Danny blinked at the sudden intense focus on him. It's fine, it's just... So, right, my parents were ectobiologists, right? They went the capture and experiment direction rather than catch and release. And this form, Phantom, was around a lot because I had to fight or contain the other ghosts once the portal was open. Like I said earlier, vigilante. So my parents pretty much saw me as a menace, even if what I did was helping them and the town. There was a lot of cases of them hunting me.
Jesus Christ,
Dick murmured. Still hunted? Cass asked from where she was pressed against Dick's side. No, Anahinga, I'm all right now. The portals are closed and I'm done playing hero, Danny said. It's not suitable for me, even if I need it to be. Being in this form for too long makes all of my chronic conditions worse. And your parents? Tim asked, worried about Danny being hunted. Danny shrugged. We just don't really talk much. They never learned about this form of mine, so I'm pretty much off their radar. My sister knows, though, as do my two best friends. If that ever changes, Bruce started. I'm sure it won't, but I will let you know, Danny said, and squeezed Bruce's hand. And don't worry either, Tim. You'll never meet them. Sure. Tim doubted that, looking at Bruce and Danny's joined hands. Surely Danny's parents would come once the news got out. Danny just waved the matter aside with his free hand. Besides, right now the important thing is teaching you how to change forms. After that, we'll need to work on your powers. What sorts of powers? Well, you should have intangibility, invisibility, and flight, like all ghosts do, Danny explained. But you'll likely develop powers that are specific to you if you keep learning. And if you do keep learning, I know a number of very good ghosts to learn from. Tim frowned. But not from you? I'll be there every step of the way if you want me to, Danny promised. But my powers grew in a really odd way. I don't know if I would be a good teacher, not like Pandora or Frostbite. Yes, Danny? One of the Yeti called from across the room, because ghost Yetis were a thing. Danny chuckled. I'm just saying how you're a good teacher. Frostbite will also be your doctor. He's been looking after me for decades now, and is easily the leading expert on halfas. I do my best, Frostbite said, and sauntered closer to the group. But every halfa is unique to each other. Phantom is hardly the same as Plasmius or Spectre. I expect that while you will be a unique case also, that you will align more with Phantom than the others. Tim tilted his head. Why is that? You both came back from a sudden instance of death, Frostbite explained. And considering the wings... Well, while Plasmius is his godfather and Spectre his clone... Dick jolted. His what? You, little bird, are much more like his child from a ghost perspective. His what? Tim squeaked. Thankfully, Danny gave Tim a bit of time alone once the others left. Apparently, it's bad for the fully living to spend too long in the infinite realms. Tim's grateful for it. He needs some time to try and put all of this away into the right mental boxes before the next wave of family arrived. He didn't think that he was managing well at all. It was a lot. Tim was still trying to deal with the fact that Bruce was biologically his father, and now he has a ghost father because his ghost form was made from Danny's life force? Because Tim was a ghost now? It's okay to be freaking out, Danny said gently as he sat next to Tim. Is it that obvious? Tim hoped it wasn't. He didn't want to worry people. Danny gave a little shrug. Ghosts are basically emotions, held together by thought and a whole lot of ectoplasm. It makes it easy for us to read the emotions in others, especially other ghosts. Oh. Tim picked at his nail beds. Emotions. He had never been great with those. Sure enough, there was this other sense, almost. What is it that I'm feeling from you, then? Guilt. Guilt and worry, Danny answered. Guilt? About changing you. It was the only way to save you, but I still changed you immensely without your permission, Danny explained. Did I do the right thing, Tim? Is this what you would have chosen if I could have asked first? What? Yeah, of course. Danny, you saved me. Part of you. Tim rolled his eyes and leaned over to bump against Danny's shoulder. Yeah, I know. I think that just maybe being part alive is better than not being alive at all. Finally, Danny smiled a little. Okay, I just wanted to check. I know how hard it is to change so suddenly, and you're even having to deal with wings right away. Yeah, but now I can run my own tests on the wings, Tim pointed out. And you already know how to put them away. Wait, will I even get them in my, human form? You're like a special ghost, right? So the rules might be different. Danny hummed. Well, we're both halfas, which make us special ghosts. But you're right that I'm more than that, too. Since your ghost form is, made from mine, I think that we'll just have to take it one step at a time with you. Luckily, Frostbite loves to figure things out and test them too. That made Tim perk up. We can have a science day? We can, Danny replied with a little chuckle. Several, I think. Good, Tim said. He leaned over to rest against Danny's side. Their wings brushed together. It's funny, isn't it? I came to you because I was freaking out about Bruce being my dad, and now I've got you as my dad too. Danny ran talon-tipped fingers through Tim's white hair. Yeah, Hummingbird, it is very funny. Tim didn't want to ask, but he had to. Do you mind being my dad? Honey, no, of course not, Danny said before he pressed a kiss to the top of Tim's head. I told you that I can't imagine not caring for you, and that hasn't changed one bit. I will need to teach you how to kick Skulker's ass, though, before he tries to mount your pelt on his wall. Tim reared back to look up at Danny. I'm sorry, who and what? Danny just laughed. Another ghost. He's a big game hunter, and halfas are pretty rare. But don't worry, he's not that hard to beat. Right. Sure. A ghost hunter, Tim grumbled. Not a ghost hunter, but like a ghost hunter. Ugh, this is all so weird. And you haven't even met the dragons yet. Now you're just fucking with me. Nope, but Dora is great. Nothing like her relatives. Danny said that like it meant anything to Tim. She will try to teach you etiquette, though, so always have an out planned when you visit her. Tim sighed and slumped against Danny again. I have so much to learn. You have no idea, little bird. Okay, that was the end of chapter 24. We're going to go ahead and go right on to chapter 25. Jason didn't like any of this. Sure, it explained a lot about Danny and the things that concerned them, but Jason still didn't like it. Probably because it was all death. A reminder. Another Robin dead. No, Tim had died as Tim. It was a weird place to draw the line, but drawing it helped. It wasn't that a Robin had died, but another of Bruce's sons had. And not all the way. Tim was still alive, at least a little. Jason scratched at an old scar. They still didn't know how he had come back. Jason had always said that Gotham had refused to let him stay in her dirt. Maybe there was more to that than he'd known. Maybe they weren't meant to die. Bruce was Gotham's, her son, her prince, her protector. It was a legacy that he could never leave behind. Maybe he really couldn't. Maybe she wouldn't let any of them die and leave her. Jason didn't really like that idea. "You good?" Steph asked quietly. Jason just shrugged. He didn't really have an answer to that. He hoped that seeing Tim in the not-so-living flesh would help, but he wasn't sure if it would. As selfish as it was, a large part of his issues weren't about Tim, but himself. He'd been dead for 6 months, but he didn't remember ever being a ghost. Did he not become one? If he hadn't, where had his soul been? "Damien," Bruce sighed, "please leave your sword here at home." Jason glanced over to see Damien giving Bruce the dirtiest look possible. "Tim is being kept by unknown entities, Father. I aim to be prepared." "Tim is at a medical facility," Bruce said. "I am not asking you to leave all your blades, just the obvious ones. These are healers, Damien." Damien jutted his Tim up and regarded Bruce for a long moment before he handed over his katana. "Thank you, Damien." Damien walked over to Jason without responding to Bruce. "You have your guns?" "Of course," Jason said. He also had his all blades, but he still wasn't ready to have that conversation with the others. Bruce sighed behind them. Jason ignored him. "Sure you don't want to come, Barbie?" "I'm not very fond of being in places my technology doesn't work," Babs replied. "I'll stay here and keep doing research into the Ghost Zone and Infinite Realms. So far I can tell you that we're going to get a lot of conflicting information." "I'll contact Zatanna," Bruce said, then reluctantly added, "and Constantine." Jason snorted. "Have fun with that. Suddenly I'm glad we're running off to another realm." "Do try to contain yourself," Damien said. Jason reached out and ruffled the kid's hair. He had to dodge some pointy elbows, but worth it. Damien was still trying to fix his little spikes when reality ripped open. And wasn't that something? The tear started, then talons pressed through the rupture, and then, like a hole in an old t-shirt, the world split into a purple void. And there Danny was, standing in the middle of it. Or a version of Danny, at least. While the Danny from before concerned Jason some, this version of Danny set Jason on high alert. This was something other, something unknown. This was more than a predator. This was a being beyond caring about such things. And Danny's entire focus was on Jason. "Oh." Danny stepped through the portal. Jason stepped back. Danny froze. Not even a strand of hair or feather moved. Then, slowly and carefully, he held his hands out to the sides, as if showing that he wasn't a threat. Which was a damn lie. "I'm not a threat to you, Jason." A damn lie. "Really, I'm not," Danny insisted. "You're just feeling my power in a way the others can't. It's overwhelming, I'm sure, and I understand why it might be frightening if you haven't felt it since." Bruce stepped up between them, and suddenly, instead of running, Jason felt like hiding behind his dad. He shook the feeling away. He wasn't a little boy anymore. Hadn't been for a long time. "Jason died," Danny said simply. Jason flinched. "It wasn't a coma like you said. He died." "Yes," Bruce confirms. "The coma was a cover story for how he came back. Saying he actually died doesn't really work for most people." Danny smiled a little. "Luckily I'm not most people." "What are you?" Jason asked. His hands itched to form his blades. "A fledgling ancient. And apparently saving Tim made that all the more noticeable to other ghosts. You aren't one, of course, you're fully alive, but you're also far more than liminal." Danny paused and looked at the family gathered around like he was seeing them for the first time. "And you are all rather liminal. Which I suppose explains some things." "I think we have a lot to talk about once Tim is well enough to come home," Bruce said. Holy shit, Bruce was going to tell Danny about it being bats. Jason frowned. "Bruce?" Bruce turns to him, but ignored the unsaid question. "If you are uncomfortable going with Danny, that's perfectly all right. Tim will understand once it's explained. If you do want to go still, Danny added, then you can speak to Tim's doctor, both about Tim and about yourself. Answers. Jason might be able to have some answers finally. I'm going. I need to see that Tim hasn't gotten himself into any more trouble since dying. If you change your mind at any point, you can come right back, Danny said. Sure. Right. Danny finally started moving, like something affected by the world around them, and clapped his hands together. Round 2 into the portal, then we'll go directly to Tim. Right. Just into the portal. Easy. Also a damn lie. Frostbite, they're liminals, Danny said as he paced. I didn't see it in my living form, and before, when they were here, it was so covered up by the realms, but then I went to pick them up, all of them, Frostbite. Bruce and Damien are the worst besides Jason, who's died. How much has that played into things? Phantom, there's no denying that we became close quickly. What if these new powers of mine weren't just tricking them? Phantom! Frostbite interrupted again. He grabbed Danny's shoulders to stop him from pacing. Like may call to like, but it does not force true attachment. But you all became close quickly, as you said. It was not only from their side, Frostbite said. You did not somehow trick them into this. Did it play a part in you finding each other? Certainly, but that does not make it a bad thing. Danny glanced away from the other. It feels like it does. Why? Because you have found a frayed with them? Because you are starting to form a haunt again? There are things you need, Phantom, and those who care for you, like this family, would want to see you taken care of. It does not make you selfish for wanting that, nor gaining it. Feels like it does. It does not, Frostbite insists. Phantom, Danny, let yourself be happy. Let yourself be cared for. You spent too long with the weight of 2 worlds on your shoulders. You keep saying how you want to live, then let yourself live. I hate it when you make sense, Danny said with a weak chuckle. Unfortunately, I am very good at it, Frostbite said smugly. Now, let us go see this revenant that you have brought me. Go easy on him, Danny urged. He's easily spooked. I don't think any of them have ever really come to terms with his death. Frostbite snorted. It will be fine. You know I'm an excellent at, what is it you call it? Bedside manner. Danny just sighed and didn't argue. At least if Jason tried to attack Frostbite out of pure panic, it wouldn't do any harm. Danny's strained relationship with Jason would be a whole other story. Frostbite, this is Jason and Damien, 2 other sons of Bruce, and this is Stephanie, a family friend. Danny introduced once they neared. Everyone, this is Frostbite, the leader of the Yeti and my doctor. He's also been overseeing Tim's healing process. Damien stepped up with a jut of his chin. If you harm any of my brothers, I will find a way to end you, ghost or not. Danny hid his smile behind a hand as Frostbite chuckled at the threat. I am sure that you would, little bird, but there will be no need for that. My only goal is to help and heal. So how does that work exactly? Stephanie asked. Like, ghosts are already dead, so what needs healing? Sorry if that's rude. Only a little, Frostbite said with a chuckle. One must remember that while we are not living, ghosts still are. We are still beings that exist, and most anything that exists can be destroyed. Oh. Steph bit her lip, obviously taking a moment to think before she asked, Can I watch you work? I want to go into medical when I get into college. If Jason and Tim are all right with it, Frostbite said with a fond little smile. I am always happy to share my knowledge.
He keeps talking about making me sit through lessons,
Tim said in a loud whisper. You and me both, Hummingbird, Danny replied with a chuckle. I keep telling him I'd do it when I'm fully dead, but I think he's going to manage to get both of us to sit through them now.
Ah, my evil plot comes to fruition, Frostbite said dryly. Ah, my evil plot comes to fruition, Frostbite said dryly. But for a moment, Jason, are you willing to let me look you over?
Jason crossed his arms as he regarded Frostbite.
Only if I can say no at any time. Of course. Right this way.
Frostbite motioned towards the door.
Yeah.
Come on, Steph, Jason said with a jut of his head and followed Frostbite out.
He's afraid of you, Tim said once they were gone. He sounded confused.
Danny hummed. I'm sure to him I feel like death, like the Reaper come to get him back. Tim tilted his head. But you don't to me, because you are already dead. Being half-living doesn't change that. But Jason isn't. He came back fully, or fully enough that he's still living enough to fear death. Oh. Tim looked back towards the door that Jason had gone through. Will he be afraid of me too now? I don't think so, Hummingbird, Danny said. He gave in to the urge to brush his wings against Tim's. Jason already knows you. He doesn't exactly trust me yet. That makes what I am scarier. Besides, I'm a much more powerful ghost than you. For now, Tim said. Danny chuckled. Yes, for now.
So, Doc, what's the verdict?
Jason asked, tone purposefully light. He had to let himself be poked, prodded, and scanned, and all the while the Yeti doctor had just given hums and murmurs of interesting. Jason had enough of that. He wanted to know something.
It is rather fascinating. Your death shows clearly in your lifeline, Frostbite said.
He pulled up an image of something that looked like complex, multicolored twine on the screen.
This is a typical lifeline. Usually when death occurs, the threads unravel. As ghosts, these threads of fate, so to say, persist, but are more of a knot or ball than loose strands.
The image changed to what looked like a knitting project gone really wrong.
Now, Alphas are a unique case. Take Phantom's line, for example.
Steph raised her hand like she was in a class or something. Should you be showing us that? Isn't it personal? Or do ghosts not have herpa?
He has given permission for it to be used to help you all however is needed,
Frostbite explained as he switched the picture. It was like twine, with bits pulled out in little arches or loops, but the line continued strongly anyway.
These areas of disturbance are moments when he has gone ghost. The biggest disruptions are his deaths. Deaths as in plural?
Jason asked, voice low and even soft. Frostbite hummed in confirmation.
Timelines were involved, but yes, when once what he is was taken from him, he died again to continue protecting living and ghosts alike. Fitting that he should become the Ancient of Hope, is it not?
Right. Hope. Jason didn't trust Hope. Hope always fucked him over, even when he was starting to have it. Hope his father would turn things around. Hope his mother would stop using. Hope that Bruce would love him as a son. Hope that Sheila would want him. It never worked out. Why would it? There was a reason that Hope was in the same box with all the ills of the world that Pandora unleashed. Hope wasn't good.
For Halfas, Frostbite continued blithely, this is typically what we see. Hummingbird already has a mess where he died and was revived by Phantom.
Hummingbird? Wait, you mean Tim? Tim is called Hummingbird here? Steph asked with a dangerous grin. Frostbite nodded.
It is what Phantom called him. Should he not like it, he can change it, of course. But as his progenitor, Phantom's word holds weight.
Progenitor, Steph repeated in a whisper, still grinning. Frostbite gave her an amused, if confused, look, and continued.
But for you, Jason, we see everything very different. There is still a disturbance, a fraying, with your death, but rather than a tangle, the threads become rewoven, so to say, and the resulting line is practically seamless.
And it really was. The next image was a twine that looked almost unbroken, if not for the fact that the colors on it clearly shifted from a high saturation to a darker one. It was like the line had been mended into a new one. Jason swallowed back his unease. What sort of thing does this?
Something very, very powerful,
Frostbite said, and for that moment the full weight of what Frostbite was sat heavy in the room.
Or perhaps several powerful things, which is more likely had you not made any pacts with gods or demigods before or during your death.
Yeah, definitely not, Jason said, once he could manage. I don't even remember being dead.
Several powerful things, then, Frostbite agreed with a nod. Your own magic plays into it heavily, of course.
Wait. Steph threw her arms out as if to physically hold the conversation back. Magic? Jason has magic? Since when? Yeah, the fact is staying in this room, Blondie, Jason said with a glare. My magic is between me and my flaming swords. Steph stared at him with wide eyes. Flaming swords? Jason just shrugged. Right, Steph said slowly. Jason expected to deal with this topic again at the most annoying time possible. Jason tried to ignore that thought. What else? I don't think I'm magic enough to bring myself back.
I suspect much of the same thing that has made all of you at least somewhat liminal, Frostbite said, which was a concerning fact. This Gotham that you live in must be a rather powerful nexus.
Fuck, Jason sighed and rubbed at his face. Always sort of figured that Gotham would refuse to let us die.
Perhaps, Frostbite said. I am afraid I cannot speak on Gotham's will without having visited the place myself, which I am willing to do if having answers would settle your soul. As long as Phantom is who allows me entrance in the city, it should not cause any, ruffled feathers with Gotham.
Yeah, maybe. I'll think on it, Jason said. Just, do you know if it's going to happen to all of us?
I cannot imagine Gotham alone to be powerful enough for such a thing, Frostbite said. But I cannot give you absolute certainty of that either.
Great. Sometimes Jason hated Gotham for all he was hers. Right, okay. I guess for everyone else, we'll have to come to you sometime, once things have calmed down.
Frostbite nodded. Of course. For the moment, though, your lifeline looks well settled and secure. You should be fine to continue as normal living. Well, one with magic.
So back to the magic, Steph said.
No, Jason growled. Still not going there.
Okay, that was the end of chapter 25. And first of all, I wanted to say this has been great. This feels... Oh my god, this is so much longer than I thought it would be. Okay, whoopsies. First of all, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all your support. I am doing my best to get on a I'm doing my best to get on a regular time schedule with these videos now that I have my schedule a bit more figured out. Thank you all so much for listening to this. I am so excited to do the next thing. And again, if you'd like me to do the last 3 chapters all in one go, I'd be happy to do that. Just let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. But yeah, I don't really have much to say on these 2 chapters other than this is really cool, and I love the fact that this is all being talked about. I love when Jason has a connection to the realms and does all this stuff. I don't remember Jason ever having swords, though. I don't remember him having flaming swords. But I'm not super into the DC lore. I'm much more into Danny Phantom lore. So if anyone wants to tell me more about that, just give me a little synopsis. I'd be happy to read about it, because if Jason does canonically have flaming swords, I'd be really interested in learning out why. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Please do share your thoughts on this golden piece, and don't forget to check out the original author, of course linked in the description, to express your thanks. In addition, let me know if you have any recommendations. I'm always looking to add to my hoard, and given that this is coming to an end soon, I'm going to need more things to read for you guys, so please do reach out. And of course, thank you for listening to this Dragon's Hoard.